In the scorching summer of June, on the eve of the college entrance exam, the temperature soared to 39 degrees Celsius. Qin Shui, the class beauty, who is sensitive to cold, forcibly turned off the classroom air conditioner, demanding that the entire class find inner peace to naturally cool down. In the sweltering heat of over 30 degrees, I suffered from heatstroke and exhaustion from the heat, so I secretly turned on the air conditioner. However, Qin Shui tearfully accused me of trying to take her life, and the whole class turned against me, resorting to physical violence. The class monitor even smashed my only fan, saying, "If Qin Shui catches a cold and it affects her college entrance exam, can you afford to take responsibility?" Even worse, to help Qin Shui detox, they locked me in an airtight storage room to reflect. I died on the eve of the college entrance exam, from heatstroke caused by severe dehydration, and my body wasn't discovered until it began to smell. Given a second chance at life, I watched as Qin Shui turned off the air conditioning once again. "Sorry, classmates." Her voice was soft and sweet, like she was holding a piece of candy about to melt. "The baby has a cold constitution and can't handle the air conditioning. It makes their bones ache." In the sweltering 39-degree heat, she was still wearing a long-sleeved jacket. The classroom instantly erupted in a chorus of suppressed groans. "No way, Shui. It's 39 degrees outside. It's going to kill us with heat. Let's turn it on for a bit, just a little while." Qin Shui's eyes reddened, on the verge of tears. But the air conditioner is a bad monster. It'll freeze the baby all cold and bad." She turned to me, her eyes carrying a hint of challenge and testing. "Yeah, sister, you're the best. You won't blame baby, right?" I smiled slightly. "How could that be? Shui is right. A calm heart naturally feels cool." The whole class stared at me in disbelief. I'm the one who's most afraid of heat in the class. They probably thought I'd stand up like I usually do, being the one to speak out. In my previous life, I stepped forward and retorted firmly, "Qin Shui, you're just cold-blooded. Can't make the whole class sweat with you in a sauna." Then, I was overwhelmed by her pitiful tears and the class's spit. Class monitor Zhao Ming walked over, looking down at me. "Lin Yu, don't you know Qin Shui is in poor health? You're so selfish." Now, the same scene repeats, and I choose to respect and bless her. Qin Shui was clearly stunned, probably not expecting me to be the first person to support her. The class monitor Zhao Ming behind her immediately stepped forward and said loudly, "Did you all hear that? Even Lin Yu says a calm mind brings natural coolness, so what do you have to complain about? Qin Shui is doing this for our own good. It's helping us build the willpower needed for the college entrance exam." I lowered my head, a smile tugging at the corner of my lips. Hone willpower. In my past life, I actually believed this nonsense, when I was suffering from heatstroke and exhaustion, begging them to turn on the air conditioning. Zhao Ming kicked me in the stomach. "Are you the only one who's special? Are you the only one with weak willpower? Qin Shui can endure it, but you can't." He slammed my only broken, old fan onto the ground, shattering it into pieces. "If Qin Shui catches a cold because of you, and it affects her college entrance exam, can you afford to pay for it?" Finally, they locked me in the airtight sports equipment room. In the endless darkness and suffocating heat, I developed heatstroke and never made it out of that storage room again. In this second life, I look at these familiar faces and feel no ripples in my heart. I took out a silent neck fan from my backpack, set it to the lowest setting, and hid it behind a towering pile of books. A gentle breeze brushed against my face, wiping away the light sweat on my forehead. Finally, I peeled off a strong cooling patch and precisely applied it to the Dasui acupoint at the back of my neck. A wave of coolness shot straight up to the crown of my head. I put on the sun protective clothing again, shutting out the stifling air outside. My cool little fortress is all set up. Qin Shui probably thought she had won, walking past my seat with a smug look. She glanced at me, frowning in confusion. Sister Yaya, how come you're not sweating at all?" I flipped open a Wusan book, not even lifting my head. "Mind is calm," she pouted, probably finding it boring, then walked away again. Zhao Ming immediately leaned in, flattering like a sycophant. Shui, you're so sensible, not like some people who are so delicate. Enduring a little hardship now is for the college entrance exam. This is helping everyone toughen their will." Exactly. Shui is so thoughtful." Several girls also gathered around, showering Qin Shui with praise. I looked at those familiar faces and sneered inwardly. One of them had even borrowed heatstroke medicine from me in a past life. The other, when I was locked in the storage room, slipped a note under the door that read, "Bitch, you deserve it." The cicadas outside the window chirped louder and louder, as if mocking the foolishness that filled the room. The thermometer in the classroom, its needle slowly but steadily, climbed toward 40 degrees. I leaned back in my chair, feeling the coolness on the back of my neck, and closed my eyes contentedly. Yeah, did you bring ice water? Li Meng, my best friend from my past life, suddenly leaned over and asked in a low voice. Her face was already covered in beads of sweat, and her school uniform was soaked in large patches. I nodded without saying a word. In my previous life, I gave her my heart and soul, sharing half my snacks, letting her copy my notes, and even giving her the local delicacies my parents sent from our hometown as soon as they arrived. But when Zhao Ming pinned me to the ground, it was her who was the first to rush forward and slap me hard. You selfish jerk, Lin Yu, you almost killed Xue. That searing pain, I still remember it to this day. At this moment, she looked at the water bottle on my desk, emitting a faint coolness, her eyes filled with longing. Can I have a sip? I'm dying of thirst. I hadn't answered yet, but she couldn't wait and reached her hand over. Just as her fingertips were about to touch the water bottle, a sharp voice rang out. Li Meng, what are you doing? Qin Shui had somehow appeared beside our table, looking at us with a face full of grievance, or rather, it was looking at my bottle of ice water. Yeah, how can you drink ice water? Ice water carries cold energy, and the baby will feel dizzy if they smell it. As she spoke, she even put on a serious act, holding her forehead and swaying unsteadily. Zhao Ming immediately rushed over in a flash to support Qin Shui. He glared at me as if I had done something unforgivable. Lin Yu, you did it on purpose, didn't you? You knew Xue is afraid of cold, yet you brought icy water. Before I could explain, he snatched my water bottle. With a pop, he twisted off the bottle cap and poured the entire bottle of chilled lemonade into the flower pot by the window. The ice water sizzled upon touching the scorching soil, emitting a hissing sound and rising a wisp of white smoke. For Xue's health, I'm confiscating this bottle of water, Zhao Ming announced like a judge, looking down from above. The eyes of the entire class were fixed on me, some with sympathy, others with schadenfreude, but no one spoke up for me. Li Meng even shrunk his neck and hid far away, afraid of being implicated. I didn't get furious or cry as they had expected. I just looked at Zhao Ming quietly, and then took out another bottle of water from my backpack, room temperature. I unscrewed the cap in front of the whole class and took a big gulp. No one knew that I had added peppermint essential oil to this bottle of room temperature water. The cool sensation instantly spread from my mouth to every part of my body, more effective than drinking ice water. Zhao Ming's fist felt like hitting cotton, his face turning pale and then red. Qin Shuijian, seeing one plan fail, quickly devised another. She leaned weakly into Zhao Ming's embrace, pointing towards the open window. Ming Gij, the wind outside is so strong, it's a hot blast, and it's making the baby's skin hurt. Shall we close the window? That way, the hot air won't get in. Close the window. In a sealed classroom at 40 degrees Celsius, is this trying to die faster? I thought someone would object this time, but I underestimated Qin Shui's brainwashing ability and Zhao Ming's executive capability. Zhao Ming immediately responded, Xue is right, the hot air outside will only make us more restless. Let's close the windows, block out the heat, and then we can truly achieve inner calm and coolness. Several boys immediately rushed to close the windows. The last gap was sealed shut, and the classroom instantly turned into a tightly sealed, scorching steam room. The air became thick and murky at a speed visible to the naked eye. The carbon dioxide exhaled by everyone mixed with the smell of sweat, creating a nauseating odor. Li Meng, flushed from the heat, gasped for breath but still kept flattering from the side. Xue, no wonder your skin is so fair. Turns out it's because you don't use air conditioning or fans. We should all learn from you. Qin Shui was coaxed into giggling by her. It's okay, girls should treat themselves well. I lowered my head and quietly unzipped my backpack. At the very bottom of the backpack, there was a rechargeable portable car cooler. Inside, neatly arranged, were chilled wet wipes and several small bags of ice. I took out a chilled wet wipe from inside and gently wiped my cheeks and neck under the cover of the table. The extreme cold made me sigh with relief. Meanwhile, my classmates around me began to show varying degrees of dehydration symptoms. Some had chapped lips, others had unfocused eyes, and some were nervously tearing up their scratch paper, but no one dared to suggest opening the window or turning on the air conditioning. In the face of Zhao Ming's so-called collective honor and test of willpower, individual physical needs were ruthlessly suppressed. Sitting in her seat, Qin Shui held a thermos cup, sipping hot water in small sips. Her face bore a sickly flush, with a smug smile playing at the corners of her mouth. 3, bang, a dull thud echoed as a chubby boy sitting in the back row of the classroom slid off his chair and collapsed unconscious on the floor. Finally, someone couldn't take it anymore. The classroom was in an uproar, and several classmates wanted to step forward to help, but they were stopped by Zhao Ming's shout, "Don't move." He walked over to the boy and nudged him with his foot. "Stop pretending to be dead. Get up." Qin Shui also walked over, furrowing her pretty brows. "He just lacks inner peace, his willpower is too weak." With her light, dismissive words, she passed judgment on the fainted boy. How can he not hold out after just a short study session? What will he do when it comes to the college entrance exam? Zhao Ming chimed in, "Exactly. There are only 10 minutes left until class ends. Hang in there. No one is allowed to take him to the infirmary. This is training his willpower." Watching them echo each other, I was so angry I could almost laugh. Is this training willpower? This is playing with human life. The thermometer in the classroom showed that the indoor temperature had reached a terrifying 42 degrees. The air was thick, like glue, and every breath felt like inhaling a ball of fire. I saw Li Meng in the front row, her face pale as paper, her lips trembling. "Opportunity has arrived." I gently poked her back with the tip of my pen. She turned around weakly. I lowered my voice, speaking in a tone only the two of us could hear. "Li Meng, you look terrible. Did Qin Shui's will therapy not work for you?" My tone was filled with concern, but each word felt like a needle pricking Li Meng's sensitive nerves. She indeed flinched, her eyes flickering with doubt and hesitation. "Yes, why must Qin Shui's words always be the truth? Why must we suffer here?" But as soon as she looked up, she met Qin Shui's icy gaze. That gaze was filled with warning and threat. She immediately straightened her back and loudly refuted me. "What nonsense are you talking? I think Shue is right. I feel great now, full of energy all over." She seemed to be speaking to me, yet also as if trying to convince herself. I ignored her, lowered my head, and reached into the bottom of the desk to pull out a chilled watermelon in a plastic container. I had taken it out of the car's cooler before leaving home this morning and put it in my backpack. I picked up a piece with a small fork and put it in my mouth. Crack, the crisp sound echoed clearly in the silent classroom. The cool, sweet juice flowed down my throat, dispelling the heat from my insides. The boy behind me couldn't help but swallow audibly, the sound loud enough for the whole class to hear. Everyone's gaze was fixed on me like hungry wolves. Qin Shui caught a whiff of that fresh, sweet watermelon scent. She abruptly stood up from her seat and quickly walked over to me. "What's that smell? It's so fragrant." She stared intently at my desk, her voice uncharacteristically sharp and urgent, completely different from her usual sweet, baby-like tone. "Lin Yu, are you hiding something good again? Show it." As she spoke, she actually reached out to search my school bag. How could I possibly let her succeed? Just a second before she touched my backpack, I quickly stuffed the remaining watermelon along with the towel back into the small cooler and zipped it up. Qin Shui lunged at nothing and found nothing. Unwilling to give up, she rummaged through my desk drawer again, only to pull out a few workbooks in the end. "Impossible, I definitely smelled it." She stamped her feet impatiently in the scorching heat, her beautiful face contorted with anger, and a fine layer of sweat beaded on her forehead. Seeing that she finally started sweating too, I felt much better. Unable to find any evidence, she could only take out her frustration on me. Her eyes welled up, and tears began to fall like golden beads. "Yaya is bullying baby. Baby is unhappy. Baby is heartbroken," she cried while tugging at Zhao Ming's sleeve. Zhao Ming immediately transformed into a flower-protecting knight, glaring fiercely at me. "Lin Yu, you've made Shui cry again. Do you really have to go against the whole class, to appease Qin Shui?" He actually came up with a brilliant idea. "Everyone, stand up. Since none of you can calm down, we'll all stand as punishment to quiet your minds. You'll stand until the bell rings for the end of class." The whole class erupted in uproar, standing as punishment in a sealed space at 42 degrees. Is this meant to make everyone suffer from heatstroke? But under the dual intimidation of Zhao Ming and Qin Shui, no one dared to resist. They could only drag their nearly exhausted bodies up, staggering to stand with me, the sinner, as punishment. Looking at their faces twisted with anger, humiliation, and heat, I felt an immense sense of satisfaction, for the standing punishment began. The classroom, tightly sealed, felt like a giant pressure cooker, and we were the dumplings about to be boiled inside. Time passed second by second, each second stretching into an eternity. The first to give in were a few girls with weaker constitutions. Their faces turned pale, they swayed unsteadily, and in the end, they could only support each other to barely avoid collapsing. Next were the boys, sweat streamed down their bodies like small creeks, pooling into small puddles on the ground. Someone started muttering curses quietly, but the sound was quickly suppressed by Zhao Ming's fierce gaze. Half an hour later, the class bell finally rang. When Zhao Ming announced, "Dismissed," at least a third of the students collapsed directly onto the floor, too exhausted even to stand up. The entire classroom was filled with groans of despair, except for two people. One was Qin Shui. Although she was also sweating, she looked quite energetic, enjoying the care of being the center of attention. The other was me. I stood there refreshed and even stretched lazily. The neck-mounted fan on my body continuously blew cool air, and the cold patches on the back of my neck and back made me feel as if I were in an air-conditioned room. My condition stood in stark contrast to the exhausted students around me. Zhao Ming's gaze pierced me like a sharp sword. He stared at me intently, his eyes filled with disbelief and raging fury. "Lin Yu, why are you completely unharmed?" he roared like a frenzied beast, charging at me. I instinctively took a step back, but it was already too late. Rip. A sharp tearing sound. Zhao Ming suddenly grabbed my sunscreen jacket and ripped it forcefully. The clothes tore open with a huge gash, the cooling patches stuck to my back and underarms, as well as the ice packs hidden in my chest wrapped in a towel, were instantly exposed to everyone. The entire class's eyes went wide. So this was the secret behind my calm mind brings natural coolness. Qin Shui was the first to scream, her voice shrill and piercing. "Lin Yu, you're so selfish. The whole class is helping the baby build willpower, and you secretly kept so many cooling devices." Her words were like a spark, instantly igniting the long-suppressed anger and jealousy of the entire class. No wonder she's not sweating at all. Hand over the ice pack, and that fan, why should she be the only one using it? My former best friend Li Meng, whose eyes were now red with anger, was the first to rush toward me. "Lin Yu, give me the ice pack, you selfish bitch." Her face was twisted with ferocity, bearing no resemblance to her usual gentle demeanor. Looking at this group of people driven mad by jealousy, I suddenly laughed. I sneered, raising the largest ice pack in my arms under their greedy gazes. Then, in front of everyone, I used all my strength to tear the ice pack open with force. Smack! The icy water mixed with crushed ice splashed all over me and spilled onto the ground. "You want it?" I looked at their stunned faces and spoke word by word. "Dream on." My actions completely infuriated Zhao Ming. His eyes were bloodshot as he looked around, finally grabbing an empty chair nearby. "I'll kill you," he roared, raising the chair high and smashing it down hard toward my head. Just like in my previous life, when he smashed my little fan, the action was exactly the same. The shadow of death loomed once more, but this time, I didn't close my eyes and wait to die. In the second before the chair fell, I raised my phone. The screen was lit, clearly displaying live stream. The bright red number of viewers was rapidly ticking upward. The live stream camera was focused on Zhao Ming, who was holding up a chair, and the wild or numb eyes behind him. "Stop!" A loud shout came from the classroom doorway. 5. The homeroom teacher, the grade supervisor, and even the principal stood there with dark expressions. Behind them were teachers and students from other classes who had rushed over upon hearing the news. The entire corridor was packed tightly, with people surrounding the scene. The appearance of the principal and the teacher was like a bucket of cold water, dousing the frenzy of everyone in the classroom. Zhao Ming froze in place, the chair in his hand clattering to the floor with a loud crash. Qin Shui's eyes reddened, and she was about to start her performance again. "Principal Wang, Teacher Li." I was just, smack, a sharp, loud slap landed hard on her face. I pulled my hand back, watching the five-fingered imprint quickly appear on her face, and said slowly and deliberately, "Shut up, you disgusting baby." Qin Shui covered her face, staring at me in disbelief, tears falling like broken beads. You dare hit me, exactly you." I coldly stared at her, shaking out my numb hand. The principal walked in with a dark expression, followed by the homeroom teacher, whose face was equally grim. "What is going on here, Zhao Ming? What do you think you're doing? And you all, causing a disturbance just days before the college entrance exam. Don't you want to take the test anymore?" Zhao Ming flinched in fear and immediately pointed at me. "Principal, it's her, it's Lin Yu. She provoked us first. She's selfish, cooling down by herself and deliberately provoking us." Li Meng also started crying and shouting, "Yes, teacher, we're almost fainting from the heat, and she's still eating watermelon, deliberately making us angry." Qin Shui cried even more pitifully, throwing herself into the homeroom teacher's arms. "Teacher Wang, Lin Yu, she bullied me, and she hit me, sob. It hurts so much. In an instant, all the blame was directed at me. I became the selfish, troublemaking villain. The principal frowned at me, his tone displeased. Lin Yu, even if your classmate was in the wrong, you shouldn't have resorted to hitting them, let alone live streaming the incident and blowing it out of proportion. Look at the negative impact this has caused. Teacher Zhang, rather than focusing on me slapping her, shouldn't you be more concerned about the classmate lying unconscious on the floor and the collective heatstroke affecting the entire class? I pointed at the chubby boy who had collapsed to the ground since being made to stand as punishment. He twitched again. The principal's face instantly turned extremely unpleasant. On the eve of the college entrance exam, a group of senior students suffered from heatstroke, with one in severe coma. If this gets out, will he still keep his job? Quick, Zhao Ming, and those boys, carry Wang to the infirmary right away. No, call 120 directly, send him to the hospital, the principal hurriedly ordered. The academic affairs director also reacted immediately, rushing to open the windows and turn on the air conditioning. The moment the cold air blew in, a collective sigh of relief echoed through the classroom. Just as the situation began to calm down, Qin Shue's parents arrived upon hearing the news. Qin Shue's father was a well-known entrepreneur in the city and also an important school trustee. As soon as he walked in, he pointed at me and shouted at my parents, "That's her, she's the one who hit my daughter, and she's doing some kind of live stream, tarnishing the school's reputation. This kind of student must be expelled." Qin Shue's mother held Qin Shue tightly, crying as if her heart were breaking. "My precious daughter, I've never laid a finger on you since you were little, and today you've suffered such a great injustice." The principal immediately put on a fawning expression, offering repeated reassurances. "Mr. Qin, please don't be angry. We will handle this matter seriously and give you and Qin Shue a satisfactory explanation. The so-called fair handling is just a muddled compromise." In the principal's office, they completely avoided mentioning Qin Shue turning off the air conditioning or Zhao Ming forcing the entire class to stand as punishment. They only repeatedly emphasized that I resorted to violence and even live-streamed it, causing a negative impact. My parents were so anxious that they were sweating profusely, constantly apologizing to others. Watching their humble demeanor, my heart ached with a sharp pain. In my past life, it was the same. No matter how much injustice I suffered, they would always tell me to endure it a little longer. This time, I won't endure it anymore. When Chairman Qin once again threatened to fire me, I spoke calmly. "Principal, I'd like to request a class change." Everyone was stunned. I continued, "I don't want to be in the same class as Qin Shue, who's cold-natured, nor do I want to go through another willpower training, where the whole class gangs up on me and almost gets me killed by a chair. Since you think I'm affecting the atmosphere of the graduating class, please transfer me. Let's go to the abandoned studio on the top floor. There's no air conditioning there, and no other classmates. I'll study alone and won't disturb anyone." The old studio on the top floor was the hottest place in the school during summer, with severe west-facing sunlight and no air conditioning. Winter winds leak everywhere, making it the coldest place in the entire school. Everyone thought I was crazy. Qin Shue's father sneered coldly, "This is your own choice. If you get roasted to death in there, don't blame us." The principal was eager to get rid of this hot potato and immediately agreed. "All right, since Lin Yu has made up her mind, the school will support her." My parents wanted to say something more, but I stopped them with a look. They didn't know that I had already visited that abandoned studio. Although it didn't have air conditioning, it had a private bathroom with water. The savings I had were enough to buy a portable air cooler. When leaving the office, I heard Qin Shue inside coquettishly flattering her father. "Daddy, you're so good, just wait and see how she'll dare to compete with me in the future." Meanwhile, back in her original class, Qin Shue had already begun a new round of brainwashing the entire class. "Lin Yu is just a coward, she lacks willpower, can't stand the test, and gave up on herself. We are different, we must persevere, overcome the scorching heat, and only then can we triumph over everything." In the college entrance exam, Zhao Ming and Li Meng led the applause, and the whole class was once again energized. 6. On the first day I moved into the rooftop studio, the classroom downstairs was filled with despair. The obese boy who fainted was diagnosed with heatstroke. Although he was successfully resuscitated, he was left with severe sequelae, and his hopes of taking the college entrance exam were completely dashed. To cover up the incident, the school paid a large sum of money in compensation, but Qin Shue, the instigator behind turning off the air conditioning, faced no punishment. This further convinced Zhao Ming and others that Qin Shue was special and needed to be protected. As a result, the willpower training, of turning off the air conditioning and closing the windows continued. A week later, retribution came. First, it was limited in scope. More than half the class developed dense clusters of red heat rashes on their necks, backs, armpits, and all other skin folds where air couldn't circulate. The itching was unbearable. During the break, the hallway was filled with students secretly scratching their itches, each one grimacing and losing all sense of decorum. Then, the situation began to worsen. Someone, unable to bear the itch, scratched their prickly heat until it broke. Soaked in sweat and infected by bacteria, the wound began to fester and ulcerate. The entire classroom began to be filled with a strange smell, a mix of cheap cooling oil, floral water, sweat, and pus. Li Meng is the most severe among them. She came to me while I was working on my math test. The cold air fan was on, blowing away the sticky air. I'm wearing a short-sleeved shirt and shorts, with a glass of iced Coke on the table. Li Meng stood at the door, looking at the scene before her, her eyes turning red. She was wearing a long-sleeved school uniform that was airtight, with large patches of red rashes on her face and neck, and some areas already showing yellow pus heads. "Yaya, my dear Yaya," her voice was hoarse, choked with tears, "please, share some of your medicine with me, I'm itching to death." She pointed to a bottle of imported prickly heat cream on my desk. I picked up the bottle of ointment and unscrewed the cap. Under Li Meng's longing gaze, I took off my sandals, lifted one foot, and slowly applied the ointment to the smooth sole of my foot. Then I closed the cap and gave her an innocent smile. "Sorry, this is antifungal cream, for athlete's foot. Do you want to use it?" Li Meng's face instantly turned from red to white, then from white to green. She looked at my clean and fresh feet, then at her own festering, pus-oozing arm, her lips trembling, unable to utter a word. I slammed the door shut with a bang, cutting off her desperate gaze. Outside the door, her suppressed sobs could be heard, but I didn't care in the slightest. She brought it upon herself, and Qin Shui, the one who started all of this, wasn't faring much better. Her so-called cold body made her afraid to take a bath even on hot days, let alone use cold water. Wiping with a hot towel every day simply cannot remove sweat and bacteria from the body, but to maintain her baby isn't afraid of the heat. Fairy persona, she gritted her teeth and refused to wear short sleeves, still dressing in long sleeves and pants every day, wrapping herself up tightly. As a result, she had more severe heat rash than anyone else, with large pus-filled blisters rising and falling beneath her fair skin, looking extremely disgusting. Because she couldn't take a bath and dared not use strongly scented mosquito repellent to mask it, her body began to emit an indescribable sour and foul odor. At first, some people flattered her, calling it the fragrance of a fairy, but gradually, even the most loyal Zhao Ming would unconsciously hold his breath when approaching her. It seems her fairy aura is about to fade as well. 7. With 3 days left until the college entrance exam, the school organized one final mock test. This exam was a dual test of both mental and physical endurance for everyone. The classroom downstairs remained like a sealed steamer, although the school had forcibly opened the windows under strong protests from parents. The temperature and humidity inside the classroom had already formed a microclimate after being closed for so long, and could not be lowered at all. The examinees scratched their heads and sweated profusely, unable to concentrate even on reading the questions. Mathematical formulas in front of them turned into twisted, grotesque symbols, and I, in my own private exam room, was blowing cold air, sipping iced coffee, clear-minded and writing as if inspired by a divine hand. The day the exam results came out, the entire school was in an uproar. I took first place in the grade with a score far exceeding the second-place student by 30 points, even setting a new school record for the mock exam. As for my original class, their results were utterly dismal. The class average plummeted by nearly 100 points compared to the last exam. A sea of red. Zhao Ming, once a top student, actually ranked at the bottom of the class this time. His mental state completely broke down. The moment he received his report card, he violently tore the paper into pieces and collapsed onto the desk, his shoulders shaking violently. The atmosphere in the classroom was suffocatingly tense. No one had the heart to maintain that ridiculous collective will anymore. Everyone knew deep down that this more than a month of high-temperature training had not led to a sublimation of will, but rather a Waterloo of academic performance. Resentment toward Qin Shui, like a seed,